What are the basic principles of Black consciousness? The basic principles of Black consciousness are principles that pertain to a Black or Afrakan person's racial awakening. These principles enforce and encourage an internal desire to improve oneself in the knowledge of one's race, culture, and the pitfalls of the world in which we exist. They also encourage a desire to respect, protect, and uplift the Black Afrakan race so that we as a race can demand respect from other members of the human family and not continue to be seen as people who are weak pushovers who can be easily taken advantage of without consequence. Consciousness is the state of being self-aware. Black consciousness, therefore, is the state of being aware of one's race and its condition relative to other races. Unconscious Black people do not recognize that the Black and Afrakan race is despised and under attack. They exist in a fairy tale believing that a god made them to suffer at the hands of other races. Semi-conscious Black people do realize that the Black race is hated, so they either try their best to assimilate with other races culturally and genetically or rely on human rights laws to protect them. A very small percentage of Black people are actually conscious. We take pride in our racial identity and seek ways to preserve our Blackness. All Black conscious people may not be universally unified in our principles, but I'm sure that we're more similar than different. Dogon spirituality and the Heru interface employs these basic principles of Black consciousness. 0. Honor and respect our Afrakan ancestry and our ancestors. Anthropology states that there are 5 distinct races in the world today, all of which originated from the original Afrakan race. The fact that Afrakans still exist is proof that we are the carbon copy and not the blueprint for other races as they would like us to believe. In other words, they did not evolve from us. They genetically mutated from us as a result of our own unaccountable behaviors, then developed environmental adaptations. Today, the cultures and systems that some have created to maintain psychological control over humanity have got most people believing that nirvana is the ultimate goal and fading to white physically and mentally is the only way to achieve real happiness. As conscious-minded people, we need to resist popular culture and return to our own traditions. That involves honoring and respecting our Afrakan ancestors and our ancestry. One of the most egregious things we've witnessed so far from unconscious Black people is the belief that they are anything but Afrakan. In many parts of the world including America, there are Black dummies claiming to be Hispanic, Arab, Hebrews, and even Native American. They have no expertise to determine their own origin, so they rely on hatred of self, religious ideology, or fake history to comfort their ignorance. Even when genetic DNA tests prove their Afrakan origins, they dismiss it, claiming the white man is deceiving them. 1. Value your genetic characteristics. Afrakans have the most noticeable genetic characteristics of all the races. Our skin tones range from black to golden brown, our hair can be kinky, coarse, or soft and wavy, and our physical features include thick lips, broad noses, and a strong physique. Although other races admire us for our strength and athletic prowess, they despise us for wanting to compete for the same things in life that they do. Unfortunately, the indoctrinating effect of their culture has had a detrimental effect on our racial pride and self-esteem. The result is our people no longer value our physical genetic characteristics. Most of our women now either wear hair from other races or they burn the kink out of their own hair with chemicals. Both Black men and women are either trying to bleach the blackness out of their skin or reproducing with other races to ensure their children will have an easier go at life. We don't blame them. We know they've been indoctrinated into the survival of the fittest mentality of popular culture, so that's all they know. Once they begin to accept and value their Afrakan genetic characteristics, they will begin to experience a new sense of racial pride. They will begin to look in the mirror and exclaim, "Black is beautiful." 2. Increase your awareness. Society is being flooded with deceptions and misinformation for many purposes, the most dangerous of which is to keep Black people unorganized and dysfunctional. We are resilient people because no other race is receptive to abstract pure energy as we do through our pineal glands. Most of us don't know it, but fortunately they don't either. In fact, those in power control the world by luck because their pursuit of happiness created conditions in their brains that shifted their psyche outward. That means that in order to achieve happiness they have to acquire things from the outside world. We call it being right-brained, or desire-dependent. They thrive on conquest, power, and self-righteousness. All indigenous people struggle to survive European domination, simply because we have to adapt their ways in order to survive their conquest. Unfortunately, in the process most of us become corrupt, unethical, and self-destructive. Our societies are digressing both from internal corruption as well as external psychological, economical, and biological sabotage. Don't think that it's a coincidence that crime, sexual perversion, and drug addiction are so prevalent in our communities. Increasing one's awareness involves gaining knowledge about how society and the world works. But most of all, it means gaining knowledge about how our own brains work. Learn about the eye of Haru in your senses so you can transform from a reactionary person into a truly conscious, self-disciplined and balanced person who functions using your mind and not your brain. In time we will become so self-disciplined that we will begin to regain the intuition skills of our ancestors. 3. Choose spirituality over religion. Afrakan spirituality existed long before religion. In fact, it was Afrakan spirituality that others used to create religions. Now they say their religions are real and civilized while Afrakan spirituality is primitive and occult. Well, we have news for them. Believing in unseen people in the clouds is more occult than believing in the energies that drive the wind, heat the earth, and manipulate matter. Afrakans call these energies spirits, but they are unseen forces that animate living and non-living things by flowing through them. Afrakan spirituality is an extension of our animistic nature. Animism means to live in accord with nature, respect nature, and recognize that no part of nature is more important than the next. In doing so, our ancestors attributed separate spirits to things such as earth, wind, fire, and water. Unfortunately, we began to make idols to represent the spirits. Then we began to worship those idols and depend on them to solve our problems as well as to enrich our lives by satisfying our various unnatural desires. We attributed all good things to our good idols, and we attributed evil to all our bad idols, making them responsible for such things as death, misfortune, bad storms, volcanic eruptions, and even dangerous animals. Eventually single idols for good and evil replaced our multiple idols. Our idols also became more powerful when we gave them superior moral judgment over every aspect of our lives. That was the genesis of modern religions. Conscious people must recognize that gods and devils are illusions, but if you can't escape religion, then use it for goodwill and not self-servitude. Goodwill is the magnetic force behind religion. Unfortunately, most people, including religious leaders, don't know this. They think that when someone does good, it is because an invisible God is guiding that person. And when someone does evil, it's because that person is being manipulated by a devil. In reality, the two forces responsible for good and evil are conscience and desire. Conscience is an internal force generated by the spiritual energy of the universe acting on the soul of a living being. We can choose to listen to our conscience, or we can ignore it using ideology, but the more we listen, the stronger conscience becomes. Strong conscience evokes goodwill, empathy, care, and concern. Care and concern evokes fairness, equity, and accountability in our interactions with others. Desire, on the other hand, is a self-serving force that is generated by the life entity within us. Life's primary goals are self-preservation and universal awareness, and in exchange life provides happiness. That is why our daily activities are primarily centered around a constant pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, without the balancing effect of a strong conscience, our desires will quickly corrupt our character, making us selfish, uncaring, unethical, and even evil people. 4. Support Black financial empowerment. One of the best ways to improve the Black Afrakan race is to work on Black financial independence and empowerment. Financial empowerment involves good money management as well as the support of Black-owned businesses. We exist in a capitalist world, but most of us don't really know how capitalism works, and because of our animistic nature we keep fighting for socialism. That, along with systemic racism, is the essence of Black financial dependence. Capitalism was born out of the basic exchange of goods, services and labor for money. Today it's become a complex system optimized by unbalanced economic conditions. Which means it works best when everyone is not in financial equilibrium. It even becomes more effective through psychological manipulation in the form of consumerism. That is the state of Black society today, poor discontent consumers driven by the belief that acquiring physical things will make us happy. The only positive is it keeps the economy in motion. Since we'll never change the political systems in society unless we run our own countries, we'll have to learn to make capitalism work for us. Start in schools by learning how to create businesses instead of learning how to become good workers for someone else. Learn how to save money and invest it wisely. Avoid credit and debt, which only puts us in financial slavery to the banks. Support Black-owned businesses locally and nationally. Avoid bad-minded thoughts that may tell you that you're making another Black person rich while you're still poor. It took thousands of years to create our present condition, so it cannot change overnight. 5. Promote Black consciousness. Conscious Black people should always defend, protect and promote Black consciousness, whether it's under attack from other races or our own ignorant and self-destructive people. It's not easy to swim against the current of popular culture, so those who do need all the support we can get. Recognize that there are different levels of black consciousness. Some black people are just waking up while some have been awake for years. Some of us are more political, militant or spiritual than others, but as long as the goal is the upliftment of the black race, then we're all on the same wavelength. Never support anyone or anything that destroys our race. That includes black people who dismiss the problems within our race and side with the biased ideologies of others because it makes them acceptable. Always confront racism, discrimination and injustice in society, but also confront violence, gangsterism and all other unethical behaviors of black people in our own communities. Recognize that black consciousness is not immune from corruption. There will always be people who will jump on the bandwagon when something is popular or profitable. It's just the mechanisms of life working its magic. If you don't know what real black consciousness is, you might become disgruntled and disillusioned with those who profess to be conscious leaders. Black consciousness is not about seeking idols to follow. It's about self-improvement first, then allowing your mind to accept what makes sense, or you will quickly be led down the path of cultism. Once you find your truth, it's your duty to promote black consciousness so that the general level of black consciousness may also rise. Conclusion. Whether you're on the continent of Africa or in the diaspora, these 6 basic principles of black consciousness are essential principles to uphold. Always honor and respect your Afrakan ancestry and the ancestors, value your genetic characteristics, increase your awareness by gaining knowledge, choose spirituality over religion, support black financial empowerment, and always promote true black consciousness. This is the only way that we as a people will rise above colonial influence and the indoctrinating effects of popular culture. Finally, always listen to your conscience. It will give you the mental strength and self-discipline you need to persevere through the ethically corrupt reality we exist in.